FBP family, who out there listening wants a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card? If you're like me, your hand is raised. Well, during the month of October, we will be selecting one lucky winner each week. So that's 4 chances to win. Here's what you need to do. Subscribe to our incredible show notes and tell us in 50 words or less why you love the Fitness Business Podcast. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/win for all the details. And good luck to everyone out there. Your Fitness Business Podcast Snapshot. Laurie's virtual success of large group training, conquering the challenges of teaching both virtual and in-person training simultaneously, participation fees, virtual versus in-person, and is virtual large group training here to stay? All of that and more coming up in today's episode. You're listening to the fitness industry's leading fitness business podcast for owners and managers, where each week we invite business experts, coaches, authors, and owners from all around the world to share their expert advice with you, the FBP family. This month's interviews are brought to you by Team Rockstar Fit. Welcome back for another informative episode of the Fitness Business Podcast. I'm your host, Dory Nugent, and you are listening to episode number 315. In my episode today, my guest and I will dive into the topic of large group personal training. Our episode is entitled Moving Forward, Successful Large Group Personal Training with Laurie Patterson. But before we get started, here is a message from Team Rockstar Fit.
Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com.
You are going to love my guest today. Her energy level is infectious, and you can tell within the first 5 minutes that she absolutely loves what she does. Her passion for improving the lives of others is second to none. You know what? The world needs more Laurie Pattersons. Please give a warm FBP welcome to our guest, Laurie Patterson, owner of Bootcamp Challenge. Welcome, Fitness Business Podcast family. I've got a real treat for you today. I feel like we should be playing the national anthem as we introduce our next guest, which is Laurie Patterson, owner and founder of Bootcamp Challenge, but also an Army veteran for the United States military. So if I could sing, I would play the national or sing the national anthem. But Laurie, welcome to the show. I feel like maybe I should salute you.
Dory, thank you so much for inviting me to be on. It's just so great to be here. And hey, props to you and Ahua. You're a military family as well, correct? Your son is in school to be an officer.
That is correct.
That's right. Hooah! Woohoo!
I mean, I've already said you're an Army veteran. I believe that's kind of where your journey started. So maybe you'd like to tell our listeners a little bit about your journey.
Sure. Thank you. So you are correct. I joined the military, and unlike you, I did have a military family, but had no intention of going in. And I was working at a little health club, teaching aerobics in 1984, going to university, hated it, woke up and said, I'm going to join the Army, and literally joined the Army the next day. And while I was working for my commander. We were stationed over in Germany, and he came in one day and he goes, don't you teach that? Can I cuss on here?
You can, yeah,
okay.
Sure.
He goes, do you teach that aerobic shit? And I was like, yeah, I teach that aerobic. He's like, okay, I need you to teach our whole battalion. So I had 300 troops and cadre in a motor pool. And if you think motor pool, it's like your garage, but huge. So 300 people. So that's where it started, and they hated it. And I didn't realize then, I had no idea then that would be one of my greatest obstacles. It would be the very foundation of a program that I would create 20 years later. So that's where it all began. Although I would love to say I was wise enough to have that vision. I didn't. I was just doing what my commander told me to do. Got out of the military, was ready for university, went back in. And the whole time always did fitness and wellness as my side hustle. I loved it. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, fitness and wellness was not a path you could do full time unless you owned the facility. So did it as my side hustle. And then eventually my husband's like, why don't you just make it your full-time hustle? So I did. We owned a gym, managed a gym, personal training, everything. I've done everything. And I have 3 children. And as I was raising them, trying to find a balance, which I've come to believe there is no balance. Each day presents its own challenges and decisions for you to make. But I wanted to create a life where I was with them, but still could do fitness and wellness. So I had an owner reach out. He said, will you come on board and help me run the show? I said, sure. He would not give me a budget for my group exercise department. And so I created this program called, and I don't even think it's called Boot Camp Challenge, Dory. I don't even know what I called it. We're 19 years old, but it was a way for me it was the 2 things I knew. I knew the military and I knew fitness. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take the components of the military that are awesome, creating camaraderie, esprit de corps, a unit. And then I brought in the added value of personal training, assessment, nutrition, packaged it, made a program, had no idea if anyone would sign up, charged them, and it was completely full, which shocked. I didn't even believe it, and I created it. And so then I said, all right, we're only going to do this one time. I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. anymore, and that was 19 years ago. And I was able to generate an amazing budget for my facility, for my departments, and then I would travel and present throughout the nation. And back then, boot camps weren't in our industry. This was in 97, 99, 2000. 2000 was when Boot Camp Challenge was created. And so when I would travel, I'd say to people, oh, are you doing boot camps? And I'm like, no, what's this boot camp thing? And I would tell them, and then they would say, oh, you should sell this program. And I was like, no, I got kids. I already run a company. And anyway, so I got asked so many times. I came home one night, I was laying in bed with husband. I was like, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to package this all up. I have all the SOP, standing operating procedures. I've been doing this for 6 years. It's a great success, great for the clubs, great for the customers. I said, but I'll have to take all the money. I'll have to take all 10,000 out of our savings account to make it legal. He's like, you totally have to. And I was like, wait, what? And so then we licensed it and put it out in the world. And here we are today, 19 years later, super blessed. We have, tens of thousands of campers throughout the United States. We have an app, so we have over 1 million downloads, and really have an opportunity to bring a full wellness program to really anybody who wants to move. So that's my story.
That's a good story. So we'll add entrepreneur to your resume as well, with your $10,000 that you started.
Yes.
And I did look at your website and I saw all the locations, and my goodness, there's a lot of locations there that you have listed. So that's something to be super proud of.
Thank you, Dory. Thank you. We are. Every day I get up and I feel blessed that I get to do what I do. Mm-hmm. I really do.
I know. Isn't that the best feeling?
Honor. It is. It is.
So in digging around about Laurie Patterson, I found out a little tidbit about you that we have something in common.
What's that?
Major candy corn connoisseur right here.
You love candy corn?
God, I love candy corn.
Oh my! So everyone makes fun of me because literally I eat the whole bag, and I know I'm in fitness and wellness. Judge me, I don't care. But I'll wait until October 1st. I was in the store the other day and I saw the bag. I was like, not today, Satan, not doing it. Because here's how it starts. I open the bag and I count out my 30. That's a serving. And then I go back and I put in 30 more. And I say, hell with it. I take the whole bag and I just eat it, and I can't stop, Dory. So I only do that in one season, and that's the month of October. That's my candy corn month. And I rock that candy corn like nobody's business.
But see, here's the thing. I don't like the pumpkins.
I don't either. It has to be the triangles. Yes.
Maybe we're related and we just don't know.
I'm thinking we are. I know we've just been talking for the last few weeks, but I feel like we might be sisters from the same mother. How is that? Mother from another mother? No, I don't even know what. But I feel like we have a very much like-minded for sure. Maybe we're soul sisters. That's what it is.
All righty. Well, we'll move on from candy corn. Our listeners are probably like, ew, gross. Who likes candy corn? But Laurie,
it's pure, I know, but it's pure sugar and wax. How could you not love it?
Right. And here's the funny. It's like Laurie and Dory. It's like,
yeah, I know. Even our names rhyme.
Okay. All right. Let's get on track to what our listeners came for. And that is, we want to talk about the success that you have had, since COVID, of changing around your entire program and making it virtual training. So I just want to get started on, what do you describe? I know you describe it as large group training. So what is your definition of large group training?
My definition of large group training is 10 or more campers or customers. I have 40. So I usually think the best is 1 to 20 as far as trainer, but now I have a couple different time slots, but we define it as 10 or more people serving that group in one time slot.
So let's talk about the success. I think everybody wants to hear about the success that you have had virtually. I know a lot of personal trainers, they haven't had the success virtually. They just, I don't know, they couldn't get the client or the customer to engage. What is it that your team did or your training did that created such the success of the virtual training?
Firstly, Dory, is demanding accountability from our customer. So we used an app called TurboTrack, and our camper had to sign up in there for every class. The night before the camp, the trainer got in there and made sure, if say there's 30 people in the camp, that all 30 people are signed up. If they're not, guess what I'm doing, Dory? Hey, Dory, you're not signed up for my camp tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. And Dory responds, oh, shoot, yeah, I'm doing it now. And then I see your name pop up. And then when I went live the next day, everyone got an email and were able to come on board. So firstly, creating that accountability so that no one slips through the cracks and that your customer knows, your camper knows that you care. Two, and these aren't in any order, because I would actually put this at Bob, is your tech. Because if you only have a phone or a computer, I say start there. Just take your gift and your mission and get it out today, because there's never been a time in our history when what we do literally saves lives, physically, mentally, emotionally. So if you only have a phone or laptop, turn it on, get it out. Then when you start generating revenue and you have a budget, think about your audio, a mic. We have found our campers they get irritated if they can't hear you right. Video, get an external camera to put on top of your computer. So go into the tools that you need. And then lastly, the third thing to find success with your clients, your campers, is really care whenever you're on there. And I know these may sound like small things, but say every person's name at least once, because you know what? During that day, that might be the only time somebody says their name in a positive manner. Say their name. 2, speak to them, educate them, motivate them, give them a reason to show up for you. So those would be the top 3 things I think that would make you successful on moving your business virtually.
Yeah, and we've talked so much about virtual, and the biggest problem, or one of the biggest problems with I know there's many, but one of the biggest problems with virtual is the connection. From trainer to client through a video screen. How, obviously, with the success of your program and your online virtual training, somehow your trainers are connecting. So besides sending that email, kind of saying, hey, accountability, where are you? What are they doing to help create the connection?
They all have a private Facebook group, and everybody in that camp in that time slot has to be in that group, because we communicate daily, and not only the trainer, but the other campers. And that's where you really create the community of just sharing things as simple as, oh gosh, my butt hurts so bad from the workout today. Oh, here's a great recipe. Or, oh my gosh, my 2-year-old won't stop screaming. What do I do? Like, that's the life that begins to happen in this closed community. 2, they all put a texting group. They all have a texting group for their campers, and the trainer touches them every single day, either in the Facebook group or via texting. So I would say those would be the 2 biggest strategies that my trainers use to keep their people connected and really make them connect with one another as well.
Speaking of your trainers, Obviously, a lot more work for them when it comes to the virtual. They're not just showing up. Well, they're already normally, in-house. They're already there at the gym. They kind of just wait for everybody to show up. They get started. Now you're talking about trainers texting, starting chat groups. Did your pay scale change for your trainers once you shifted to virtual?
My pay scale did not change. They all received 60% of net of their camp. So however many people sign up for their camp, we take out, what we need to run the business, and then they receive 60% of gross. So that pay is the same. And also, my trainers did all these things even prior to COVID. So they always had a group, and that's why our program's so successful. And that's why we have such a high retention rate. And that's why we're called group personal training. So we work in large groups, but there's that personal attention. So all the things that I just shared with you that have made us so successful virtually are things that we've done in our program for 19 years.
So that's what you think through the connection is what made your program successful versus the training studio down the street that has now closed its doors because it just couldn't get the engagement with the clients.
Yes. And also, Dory, I will say, I can speak for my area because I called almost every gym and boutique in my area. And I said, I will help you for free. I just pivoted. Not sure how long it'll last, but we're rocking now. And no one reached back out to me. Okay, I get it. We're all, it's March. Everyone's crazy. But what I think is, one, they just didn't do it. And I also think that they thought it would be a 2-week situation, that everybody would just be closed down for 2 weeks and then we're going to be back up and running. Well, that's not what happened to any of us. Matter of fact, some of them didn't ever reopen, which just breaks my heart. Because again, first of all, I hate anyone that loses a business. And secondly, a fitness and wellness business during a pandemic, it couldn't be more awful timing. So they didn't move. And I hate to say what they didn't do. Let me just tell you what I did. I moved immediately. I didn't wait to see how long we were going to be here. I took all the strategies that I knew already made me a success, and I put them forward. And I called everyone I knew that I needed help for an app for accountability. My husband had to get online and buy my audio, and like anyone I knew who could help me, I called hey, can you find this for me? Can you find this? And I wasn't afraid to ask for help because I was completely pivoting my company into an unknown, territory. So I would say that those that didn't make it, if there's an opportunity to fire back up your doors, please do so because you're just needed. And if you need any help, give me a call.
You are half virtual, half in person. You kind of laughed about, the challenges of that. So it's very common for you then, obviously, to have people in front of you, right, directly in front of you, but then also on a computer screen. Tell our listeners a little bit how you just make that successful and the people at home aren't feeling left out because your back's turned to them. Or they feel like, oh, hey, she's paying more attention to the people in person than me.
Dory, all of those things you just said, I thought were going to happen. I was so concerned. So July launch was the first time that I launched virtual and in person simultaneously. And I will say that I had, the last 20 years, 19 years of being in person and the last 6 months of being virtual. So I had a little experience in the virtual, but those were all my concerns. Will my in-person people feel like I'm giving them attention? Will the people that are live on my computer feel like I'm giving them attention? Can they hear me? Can they see me? What will it be like? And here's why I took the risk. One, my customer asked me to. So when I put out a survey and said, do you want in person? Do you want virtual? It came back half and half. Half wanted to stay virtual and half wanted to stay in person, all for different reasons. And I said, okay, well, my customer is asking me to do that. I am at least going to try. And then my second thought was, you know what? They're going to give me grace because no one's ever done this before. So it's not like everyone's been doing this for 20 years and I'm the new kid on the block and they're like, well, she ain't got her shit together. We ain't doing her. Like no one's doing it. And so I felt that confidence going in that if I mess it up, they're going to give me grace. And I told all of them, our whole team, everyone said, you know what? Thank you for your patience. Every day, give me your feedback. This experience has to be great for you. I do this for you. And I think they know my heart too, that it all is for them. And so I went in with those thoughts and they all proved to be true. They had grace for me. They, both my virtual and my in-person, loved it. And it wasn't a fluffy, yeah, you're great. My campers don't they don't talk to me like that. They're like, yeah, that sucked, or that was great. And so I would check in every week and ask their feedback. And then I did a survey at the end, anonymous, that's the word. And just said, please tell me, because if it doesn't work, we'll bring in other trainers. I'll split it. I'll do this 5 a.m. will be in person, 6 will be virtual. We'll make it happen. I want you to feel like, they pay a lot of money, Dory. I think in the Midwest, it's $220. And that they have to get their value. And not only are they paying me money, I'm asking them for time out of their day, which is like, who has that,
So I have two more questions. One, I want to spin off of what you just said, but before I do, just want to ask you this quick question. Does the client pay the same amount for the session, whether they're virtual or whether they're in person?
They do. Thank you for asking me that. I had so many business owners ask me that. And actually, I had some of my I got new campers during this time when I wasn't even marketing. I was just trying to hold on to my current customer and serve my current customer. And I literally had that question. I didn't know how I was going to answer it. Again, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. So this mom and a daughter come through our Facebook page and they say, they thought it was in person. I said, we're virtual during the COVID. They're like, oh, was the pay different? And I thought to myself, I'm like, no, they're getting the same thing. They're getting assessments, front end and back end. They're getting nutrition counseling. They're getting live workouts for me. No, the only difference is I'm saving you gas money. And they laughed and they joined my camp. So no, my price is the exact same. It's all the same added value. The only difference is your location.
All right. Good answer. I like that. Right. So moving, like I said, I wanted to spin off what you just got done talking about is right now we're entering the fall. You're, let's just say, half and half virtual, or you have two options, virtual and in person. Moving forward, are you going to continue to offer both, or are you going to start to try to push more to in person, especially with the weather changing? What do you have? What's the business plan?
Our business plan is we are moving forward with both virtual and in person. And I will also say, Dory, virtual will now be part of our offerings forever, because we've been able to serve people, across the nation, all over, but have wanted to do it. So virtual will always be an offering. And yes, in person for those that feel confident and safe to do it, we are doing both.
Perfect. Good business plan. Virtual is here to stay. That's what I keep hearing in the industry over and over again. Laurie, so I think our trainers out there listening are going to be very intrigued that you are maximizing your time with during your session, that you've got people in-house and virtual at the same time. Let me ask you about equipment. How do the virtual people know what equipment to bring to the session?
They all, when they register to do our bootcamp challenge, they all receive a tube, a resisted tube. And I have a ton of them, and I mail them all a tube. If they sign up for my in-person, when they show up, they get in a plastic, in the bag that it came in, a tube. Everybody has to use their own equipment, and everybody has at least a resisted tube for the work. And then if they have weights at home or they want to bring weights, that's great. But at a minimum, every person that does bootcamp challenge has a tube, and I make sure they have that when we start camp.
Okay, so resistant tube, hand weights would really be the only two pieces of equipment that you're going to use throughout the entire session.
That's correct.
So are you doing a lot of like body weight exercises?
We do a lot of body weight exercises. We do a lot of multi-muscle, multi-joint. So, and I'm still the program director for Bootcamp Challenge. We follow ACSM guidelines. So I try to pack as much as I can in 60 minutes. We do cardiovascular training, a minimum of 20 minutes, muscular endurance training, and I'll change the muscle groups depending on the day. Also, we include flexibility. And then I also try to always include skill-related components to go with that. So we think of total body exercises that work all of those components with minimal equipment.
Get your pen ready now for Keep Me's Fit Bizpiration.
Laurie, can you give our listeners 3 tips on how to improve their virtual training?
Yes. 1, have your setup. Pick your platform, your audio, your visual, so that you can provide a great experience for your customer. 2, have specific directions for your customer so they know exactly when and where and how to sign into your training. So you're removing any obstacle that comes with tech. And then lastly, create a great experience for your customer. Say their name every time they log on, watch and give them feedback, and always be their biggest cheerleader.
Keep Me, smarter member retention. KeepMe.ai.
Now it's time to get back to the show. Well, Laurie, what a fun episode. So much information. Our personal trainers are probably out there writing away, getting lots of tips and information on how to improve their virtual training and actually even their online and in-person training at the same exact time. Who doesn't want to make as much money as they can in a short period of time? So thank you for sharing all of those tips with our listeners.
Oh my gosh, Dory, and you were so right. And I want to thank you so much for letting me get to share my successes thus far and the mistakes I've made with your community. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
So where can our listeners get a little bit more information if they just want to kind of see, again, how Bootcamp Challenge operates?
Our website is bootcamp-challenge.com. That's for our customer, for our campers. And then also, if anybody has any questions, Dory, they can email me direct. I'm Laurie, Lori, at bootcamp-challenge.com. I'd be more than willing to help anybody that needs help.
Yes, and we will put all this information in our show notes. So listeners out there, if you want to get in touch with Laurie or look at any of her social platforms, please head to our show notes, subscribe, and you'll get all that information delivered right to you. So Laurie, thanks again. I salute you. Thank you for coming on to our show. I told you you were going to love her energy. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much to Laurie Patterson from Bootcamp Challenge. Now here is a message from our podcast partner, One Fit Stop.
One Fit Stop is modern fitness studio software built for the growing multi-location studio, providing scheduling, client management, programming, payment collection tools, and more that will set your business up to grow. To find out more, go to onefitstop.com or click on the link in today's show notes.
Quickfire 5.
The Quickfire 5 questions are with next week's guest, Al Amador. Al is a principal consultant for the Table Group, which is a Patrick Lencioni company. Guaranteed you won't want to miss it. Al, welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast. Are you ready for your Quickfire 5 questions?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Our first one is, who inspires you in your life and why?
You know, I have to say it's the person I work for, Patrick Lencioni. He's an amazing author and just pushes himself and pushes our team like no other leader. And his creativity is an inspiration every single day. I'm just very fortunate to work in his organization.
Great answer. I love that. Number 2, Why do you do what you do?
We get to dive into a world every single week. It is absolutely amazing. I don't read the paper the same way. I was actually there when the virtual reality was first introduced to investors. You know, I've been in sessions around pharmaceuticals dealing with COVID, right? It's just a privilege. And every week I fall into a new world. It's fascinating. Never gets old.
Awesome. And number 3, here's a good one. If you weren't doing what you were doing, what would you be doing?
I have always imagined myself to be a captain of some working sea vessel. I know it sounds strange. I'm up in Whidbey Island. We have a little property up there, and I'm fascinated by the ferry system. And I still might figure out a way to work that into my life in some way, to work on those large working vessels.
Okay, then we can call you Captain Al, right?
That's right, exactly.
I love it. Okay, number 4, what is one book, podcast, blog, or Facebook group that you would recommend?
I absolutely have to recommend that everyone read The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. That is the foundational work of what we do. It was written 15 years ago. And you know what? It still sells 3,000 copies a week. And if you're a leader of any team or you're on a team, that's the book for you to read.
And you know it's a good book when it's still relevant, no matter when it was written, right?
Absolutely amazing. And, you know, it continues to create amazing business discussions. Now, of course, there's other works, The Advantage and many other things that Pat has written, but that's the great start.
Awesome. So Al, you're going to be on our show next week. Could you just give us one action item that the FBP family will take away from your main interview?
Absolutely. They're going to walk away with some tangible steps on how to build greater levels of trust. And what we're talking about here is vulnerability-based trust. I'm going to share some activities that I'm going to recommend they take right back to the teams that they lead. And the next thing we're going to do is make sure that there's a proper level of debate and there's ways to ensure that you're at that sweet spot where it's not artificial harmony and it's not disruptive. It is literally the search for truth. There are ways to create conflict norms. We're going to do that as well.
Okay, well, FBP family, I don't know about all of you, but I am super excited to have Al Amador from the Table Group on our show next week. Now, here is a word from our podcast partner, MX Metrics.
Member experience is more than just NPS. With MXM's Member Experience Toolkit, you build a unified view of the member experience, from purchase to onboarding to everyday usage and cancellation. Wire your entire organization with actionable feedback using MXN's Member Experience Toolkit. To find out more, go to mxmetrics.com. Hi everyone, Chantal here. Thank you for joining me for this week's throwback episode, when we take a little trip down memory lane and I share some of my all-time favorite episodes from the first 5 years of the show. This week's featured guest is Meredith DePersia from Active Wellness. It was episode 206 and it was called Onboarding a New Employee, Your Complete Guide to the First 90 Days. Let me tell you, this one was huge. In fact, it was one of our intensive shows, and it even comes with its very own free ebook, which I highly recommend that you download. In the interview, we discussed the pre-hire process, we discussed hiring the employee's first day, and new employee training. If you haven't yet heard that episode, or if that's a topic that is top of mind for you right now, then take a listen today by clicking the link in today's show notes. Just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, or you can search for the number 206. Happy listening.
Thank you for joining me for this week's show, and a reminder that all resources and links for today's episode can be found at fbp.com. And a warm thank you to our founding partner, Active Management.
Hi FBP family, it's JT from Active Management, the founding partner of the Fitness Business Podcast. Thanks to the amazing technology at our fingertips, we can now work with clients all over the world. But right now, you can join the free online Active Management Facebook community. It's an amazing group of people just like you. Sure, I share weekly resources, but it's the power of the community that you will experience that will make this your go-to Facebook group. Remember, it's free, fun, and inspirational. Go to facebook.com/groups/Active Management Community.
What you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.